for your life.
I got the toothpick out of my mouth just in time. Did not want that to be on the recording. Ladies and gentlemen, I am fired up today. I've been fired up for today. We have tried a couple of times to get the stars to align, to get two of the most powerful and influential people in the entire Symmetry ecosystem on a builder's call together. Kevin Purdy, Brian Delaney, and the leaders, most importantly, when you talk to them, the leaders on their team that work alongside with them have made an impact on this company that we truly are all in forever debt for. I personally feel that. I know you all can see that on the leaderboards on a week in, week out basis. What you don't see is how these two show up behind the scenes. What you don't see is the countless advisory board meetings and the rumbles and the love and the support. And when times get tough, these two show up. And I hope that everybody understands how special the next 25 minutes of their day is going to be, because we could all be a better person and we could be better business owners if you'll get out a notebook and you'll take out a pen and you'll listen to the people that actually are out there cutting down the trees and blazing a trail. Two of my good buddies, Legacy Advisory Board members, Brian Delaney, Mr. Kevin Purdy.
Thanks.
I'll turn it over to you guys.
Thanks, Todd. You're a pro, dude. Appreciate you. Love you, man.
You go,
Love
Kevin.
you guys.
I'm not even going to try to follow that. Like that's the standard. The standard. We were like, where's our shine? And then Spivey delivers, right? It just nailed it. So.
Comes across so sincere. I mean, it's really great.
I think you all know that I have a University of Alabama education, and the fact that I could be playing chess with either of you two is not a possible scenario. I'm over here playing checkers. And I need to be better.
Well, thanks for having us on, Todd. We're really grateful. Kevin Purdy here, direct to Symmetry, direct to Linwood Watkins. Brian, it's a pleasure to be on here with you, to be asked. Really excited. I would not be in this position sitting talking with you if I didn't have an awesome team behind me. Really grateful for everybody in the Purdy Agency, all my directs from the Matthews, Summers, Delaney, got some new ones coming up. Just everybody pulling and really leading from the front. Really is a big deal, and I really appreciate the opportunity that just a great bunch of people around us here has afforded us this opportunity to share about really what we have learned from our quest to 130.
Yep. And Brian Delaney here, direct to Edward Pritchett, and as well as SFG, and just incredibly grateful to get to do this business, right? This is not where I thought that this was going to go when I first got started. And quite frankly, if you told me that life was going to be this good, that life could be this different, that I could build the business that I have with the people I get to build business with, just like you, Kevin, I get to be up here because I stand on the shoulders of giants, both giants who came before me and the giants who are now with me, all of the team, right? And we just get to watch these people just get a new perspective, go from struggling to surviving, to stability, to success, to impact, right? Significance and impact. Get to watch people who needed to be poured into have more to pour into others, right? And that, to me, is that's transformation. And today what we're going to do is we're going to sow some seeds of intention that are going to come with a harvest of transformation. Because what we want to do today is we want to give you an opportunity to have some clarity on what the next steps are to get your business to the next level, right? Because I remember being where a lot of you are right now. I remember I was sitting in my kitchen, I was having a conversation with Casey, Kevin, and I was telling Casey, I was like, the results aren't here yet, man. I've been I've been doing the work. I've been doing it just like you told me to. I think I found it. I think I thought I had found, Kevin, the spot where I could prove them wrong, where I was going to do everything they told me to do, and the results that they said weren't going to be there. I thought I had finally found the spot. So I was on the phone with Casey, and I said, Casey, the team is running, that this is happening. He said, give it 90 days. In 90 days, I was exactly where they told me I would be, right? In 90 days from that point, I had closed out the year in my third year in business, having gone from 75,000 in the first year, 130 in the second year, to not making six figures, but getting a six-figure raise in my third year and going all the way up to 240,000. That was just going to be the first of many six-figure raises that I would see in this business because of a simple, duplicatable system that people like us could learn through, grow through, and become transformed into that next level person who could run a bigger business.
Mhm.
And as I was on the phone with Casey, he said one thing to me that struck me. He said, you're in the position where you're having to choose either or instead of both. He said, you're having to choose whether to have money or invest money when you need to be in a position to have both. Obviously, you've pulled out of the field too early. Obviously, you're in a position where you don't have enough money to recruit, but you also don't have enough people on your team to not recruit. You don't have enough money to live the life that you want to live. And you're in a position where you're stagnant, and it's going to be so much easier to plateau and stay here than it is going to be to get to the next level, to dig deep, put your ego in your back pocket and go lead from the front, provide an example of what this business can do, speak with conviction, and watch other people win right alongside you. And that's why I'm so thankful to be here, because there were people in this business who cared enough to tell me the truth. And that's one of the things that we want to do while we're celebrating all the wins that we've had so far.
You talk about the 90 days. Right now is go time. We have conference coming up in August, right? What better way to put yourself against the wall, get an owner's pack, plan on being there and getting that. This is the builder's call, obviously, is how can I get a team? How can I load up the Partridge family bus and be in Denver for conference and have a bunch of people? Because for me, that changed my business, Brian, when Casey's like, look, it's go time, get an owner's pack. Where are you going to be 6 months from now? And so if people start having that vision, the focus right now of Denver, who's with me, showing up there with a whole bunch of people, that's really going to jumpstart your business. So you want to get into the slides, and we'll roll right into this.
They were actually, just before we got on, they asked us not to use the slides and just go into the discussion. So I want to dig in with you, Kevin, because I know your insight. I've gotten to learn so much from you in regard to some of these pitfalls and in regard to some of these lessons that we can learn. But the first one is exactly what I was talking about: lack of resources and investment in people in our business, right? Lack of investments and resources of people, right? And that's exactly where I was. And so what did I need to do? I didn't need to stagnate anymore. What I needed to do was put my ego in my back pocket and go out and help some families, right? What I have in this business, what we all have in this business, is a job built right into it. And it is the sweetest job that you can have, because it's so simple. We've got people who want it that we get to work with, help them get it, and get paid really well for doing it, right? And listen, if you don't know how important that is, if you're sitting there and you're thinking a lot about your own situation, well, that might be hard, or what's the team going to think? Here's what the team's going to think. That's a leader. That's what they're going to think. That's a leader. That's somebody who cares, right? And some of you have heard me talk about my conversation with Joe Jordan a couple of years ago. Joe Jordan, a longtime veteran of the insurance business, and just really not only a thought leader, but a momentum leader in this business. He said, Brian, not everybody is going to have the opportunity to be wealthy in this country, but no one should have to be poor. No one should have to be poor. And that's where we come in, because what we know is that wealth is generational, and what we know is that poverty is generational, and we get to stop that cycle because we get to help people see how they can protect They can protect the things that they've accumulated, the people that are in their lives and most important to them. We show them how they can protect themselves against being in debt and having that on their shoulders and on their chest on a regular basis. And we show them how they can protect retirement. So our clients aren't like everybody else who lost 19% last year. Our clients are safe, secure. They're not digging out of a hole. What they're doing is they're standing on solid ground, ready to get to the next level. And so we help them do that, and then we reinvest in our business. And it's amazing how when I do that, my message to new people is simple. We've got a job to do. Let's go do it.
Yeah, inconsistency here in our business is always going to be there, and it's how disciplined you can be to really write that. So, for example, inconsistency in your production, inconsistency in recruiting, and inconsistency in investment. So, you know, if you're trying to get to that next growth, that next promotion, I always looked at my business as when I doubled down, when I put more resources, when I invested more in my time, in people, things will naturally fill in and grow. So, you know, if you look at your business, are you just a one woman show? You know, it doesn't matter how awesome you have ice cream in your ice cream stand. If you're the only person scooping and doing the cash register, you're not going to grow. And so how you can just look at, am I consistently ramping up in my business, and am I going to the next level, Brian? And that's one of the things that I learned from Linwood is Linwood duplicated what Symmetry was doing. Linwood had an assistant. Linwood had a recruiter. Linwood got office space. And I saw that duplication from Linwood. So I copied the same thing. And when I doubled down on more people, more investment, the business grew. Mm-hmm. It grew. So, you know, if you feel like you're stagnant, you're not moving, how are you consistently investing in your business to give it the right fuel to grow?
And do we know our numbers, right? We had a young lady on our team just that within the last couple of weeks, she just hit a key leader by the name of Gabby Kohler, right? She knew what her numbers are. She didn't like them. She didn't know what to do about it, but she knew her numbers, and that's a starting place, right? We saw her sit ratio. It was a lot lower than it needed to be. This woman is a rock star on the team, just like her mentor and her mentor from there. You know, it's Gabby, and then Holly, and then Tim Penso, and then Ayers and Cicely Newsom, right? Got a long line. But this person was like, I'm doing the work. I'm just not getting the results. I'm just not getting the results. All we had to do was put a couple of things in alignment and reintroduce herself to her and remind her not how great we are, but how great she is, right? But if I'm needy because my bank account's low, we can't do that. I watched her go from struggling not to stability, but she hopped right over that to success. She wrote over 16,000 last week. She got 12 referrals. What are you doing, right? Yeah. Are you hungry? Are you hungry enough to get into alignment by taking the things that you know you need to do, doing them, and measuring your outcomes? Do you know the numbers in your business that matter?
And what does that sound like? That sounds like, hey, listen, you know, last week, Brian, I went out and I wrote 5 applications, and 5 of them are simplified. And right now, 4 as of today have been placed, and I made X amount of money. And you'll find, like, this goes back to consistency again, that the people that know their numbers, Brian, talk about their numbers. They share their numbers, you know? And so that's like when we have corporate overviews, like who was in the field this week, who, like, they know their numbers. So, and that graduates as you grow with your team. So if your team sees you talking and knowing your numbers from an individual side of things, but also on a group team side of things, they're naturally going to start talking about those numbers. On your quest to 130, the highest contract level here in Symmetry, is what I've seen all my directs do very well, is a countdown. They people know where they need to be in their numbers, what's placed, what income is coming to the bank account, and how to manage that income to then grow their business. So they're not just taking it all and spending it, they're investing it back in their business.
Pitfall number 2, know-it-all syndrome. I know. Off to mediocrity I go, Kevin. I know. Yeah, I know. I'm supposed to be making more dials. I remember saying the same thing, right? When I was in that position, I've watched. We watch people go through this position. I know. But then the number up on the scoreboard isn't what they want it to be. I know. I know what to do, right? I know what to do. If we knew what to do and why to do it, why wouldn't we do it, right? Why wouldn't we truly believe, right? What is the dream not clear enough, right? Has our ego gotten too big to be able to listen? I've been in this position with Edward Pritchett. I looked at Edward Pritchett, and there was a time in my career where I was like, oh, Edward, I'm really going to help you out a lot here. You are not going to believe how much I'm going to help you. You just watch and listen, okay? And what I realized was I was being ridiculous. I was not being smart, and I needed to have some wisdom, stay humble, and ask these 2 questions, right? Ask these 2 questions. Number 1, Edward, if you were me, what would you be doing different in your business? If you were me, what would you be doing different in your business? Invite coaching. Number 2, Edward, what can I do to help you grow your business? Demonstrate value. If you can learn how to invite coaching and demonstrate value, you are going to avoid know-it-all syndrome. The biggest antidote to an oversized ego is gratitude. And that's something that is so easy to get away from, because when we start to get good and we know it, all of a sudden a little bit of good turns into a lot of thumb pointing at ourselves, and we're in this place where I'm the man. And Kevin, how did you avoid that know-it-all syndrome after you broke the record for the number 1? You got the strap for the number 1 producer, as well as you've been growing your team. How have you been able to sidestep that, or what does that look like when it's out of whack?
I think one of the things that people need to really understand is a mentor and how important a mentor is. And a mentor doesn't always need to be your best buddy or you like everything. But a mentor, you realize, like, I got into this business because of mentorship, because my mentor already has the things that I want. He's already in the place I need to be. And how real can I be? Because we all are looking for that person that just can you tell me how it is? And what I found is, like, when I hit agency owner, Brian, I felt like I didn't need to bring Linwood in as much to do maybe a 3-way interview, or introduce you, Brian, to Linwood and say, hey, this is my mentor. And what I was missing on was I wasn't getting the verification or validation or that edification from Linwood. My new person wasn't seeing me edify Linwood, but then my new person, you were not hearing from Linwood why to pay attention to me, because I thought I don't need to waste Linwood's time. I know how to do this. And that really slowed things down. So the more that you can work in your culture of that process of edification, there's somebody that's better than me. There's somebody that I'm learning from. I'm being coached by this individual, by these people. And then so that starts to go downhill within your agency. So it's not foreign. And the other thing I see sometimes with this is, Brian, if you're going to be a guest on my call, that's where you hear me edify you. Like, oh, Brian's wonderful. Brian's great. But how are you edifying your mentor when they're not around? Because guess what? How you edify them when they're not around is a lot of times what's going to transpire throughout your whole agency.
How you treat your leader is how you're going to be treated as a leader. That's it. We can't get away from that. That's just the truth. If I have an entitlement mentality, if I have that know-it-all syndrome, what I'm going to end up with, because I'm planting seeds, right? Every time I do something, people are looking, people are watching, because that's what happens with leaders. Every time I'm planting those seeds, why wouldn't I expect a harvest of entitlement? Why wouldn't I expect a harvest of mistrust, right? But sometimes what I think is, with all the good intentions in the world, we start to do things for people because we want them to grow bigger without going through challenges. That's not how it works. I've made that mistake plenty of times. Buying people's leads for them. Well, I don't want you to struggle right now. How about you feel that just like I had to feel it? because that feeling right there, that became a never again moment. And a lot of us, I think, we're in a position, especially when I have know-it-all syndrome, where I go from getting resolution to avoiding no's. I go because listen, I'm the best, man. You should have seen me back in the day, right? We have those nostalgia glasses on, those rose-colored glasses. You should have seen me back in the day. I was unbeatable. I never would have missed that sale. I was so good, right? The reality has to come in. The reality has to come in that no, you didn't close every deal, right? No, not every appointment that you set showed up. And yes, you're just like everybody else because this is a system built for everyone who is willing to do the right things. Do the right things. We see time and time again people say, "Yeah, I know what to do. I know what to do." Well, then what are the 4 ingredients for a successful person here at Symmetry? What are those 4 cornerstones? Oh, I don't know those 4 cornerstones. You don't know the
Brian,
ingredients.
too, is sometimes this, not to really hammer this, but we see this with leaders like Brian, kind of that 2 to 4 year mark where they've been here. And Brian, you're my mentor. Now I know it's kind of like a marriage. I know your faults. I know your strengths, but what do I focus on? I focus on Brian's weaknesses. Like Brian's not all this. Brian's not like that other leader over here that they'd have Cupcake Friday. And I want to be around that leader because I like cupcakes. Brian doesn't do cupcakes. And we're looking at all the reasons why this person isn't for them anymore. I've outgrown you, Brian. And that is kiss of death. Because now when you start loving on, oh man, that other leader is awesome. Now, what is your team? What message are you sending to your team? What message? Guess what, Brian? Linwood, was he the world's greatest sales guy? No. Was Linwood the world's greatest articulate person? No. Brian, you're on my team. Do you know, am I poo-pooing Linwood? Not at all. And I'm looking at how, going back to that line you said, Brian, I'm on Linwood's team. What can I do to serve Linwood? How can I build Linwood up? How can I be that spoke on Linwood's axle to make his team the best thing in the world? And so when you get that community of people that are like, hey, we all come from different skills and strengths. How can we all ohana come together? That's where the magic is. The magic's not looking over to the team next to you and like, how come they don't have the cowbells and remember, Brian? Remember that one team? Like the things at conference, how come we don't have those noisemakers? Get out of here. Get over here. Back to you, Brian.
It's so right? It's like we can focus on the negatives, and if we're focusing on the negatives up, we're focusing on the negatives down. And if I see problems in people and I think that gives me a job, that's an issue. But when I can learn how to become a compelling leader, right? And this is the first tool. If I can learn how to become a compelling leader and see the best in people, then I can start to develop the best in people. That includes up and down. That includes for my mentor, because my mentor doesn't need to be perfect. They just need to be real, right? They just need to be that's the exciting thing. Like what I've seen from Edward Pritchett, we just happen to be working through the same book with our agencies right now. We just happen to be doing that. You know what? You know what's not a coincidence? That we're both growing. That we're both growing ourselves, because we know we need to grow ourselves to grow our business. And that's what's exciting. People aren't going to get excited about what you know. They're going to get excited about what you're knowing. They're not going to get excited about how you've grown. They're going to get excited that you're growing. Become that compelling leader who sees the best in your mentor and who can see the best in your people and water that. You know, Tristan Strickland, who just became an AO, and Devin Johnson, who's a rad. Devin thinks of himself as a really critical person, but it's amazing how he can see the hope in the future in people. He might be critical of the present because he's hard on himself, but he can see the hope in the future in people, and he just waters that and waters that. And all of a sudden you have a Tristan Strickland who hits 8 agency owner in 9 months, and he's got a great attitude because he sees the best in Devin, he sees the best in his people, and he's ready to go at the next level. So many of the leaders on the team are like that. They just see that in people, and then they help make that true by working as a guide by their side, not a sage from the stage.
Yeah, this business is, you can look at numbers, you can look at sales all day long, but don't be a jerk, period. If you're a jerk, and there's another word I'd love to say right now, but I know you can't be that jerk because you're setting precedent in your whole business. That's one of our core values. We have fun and get stuff done. If I come to you, Brian, and I'm on your team, whether you're my mentor or I'm your mentor, am I having fun? Am I enjoying the process of working with people, growing a team, and protecting a lot of families and having that work-life balance? But if you feel like you don't have that work-life balance, it might be because you're out of balance. You're not having fun. You're not being grateful for the things. How many people do we see go on Shark Tank, Brian? They're like, I'm looking for mentorship. I'm giving away equity, right? We know all this stuff. I'm giving away equity to my business because I need help. Tell me what to do. Mm-hmm. We have that here. Embrace it.
That's right. That's right. And talk about being engaged, right? Kevin, you've been doing this now for about 11 years, about 11 years. And I've watched you and you've been engaged. And that's not a static process. It's just a consistent pursuit of being at our best and for our business and for others. Because when we give our business what it needs, it gives us what we want and what we need as well. When we hold back from our business, we shouldn't be surprised when our business holds back from us. See, time and money aren't something we're given. It's something that we earn. Leverage isn't something we're given. It's something that we learn, that we earn and we grow through investments in our business. Are we being engaged? Do we know what our numbers are? Do we know what our people's numbers are? Or do we have to wait for the problem to actually bubble up to the surface, right? When we can start to predict problems before they come, we can start to equip and empower people to meet those problems as soon as they show up or even earlier and prevent them. And that's where we're really doing the good work. Are people around you growing bigger or are they shrinking so that they can make room for your ego in the room? That's a question I always have to ask myself and I have to check myself with.
Yeah, humble is so attractive to a lot of folks here. And in this team building, keep in mind, Brian, the thing that I love having Linwood as my mentor is I could go to Linwood and kind of vent. Like sometimes I'd be on these calls and I'd be like, oh man, I'm missing it. And I'm getting off the call and I'm like, I'm not using the flux capacitor leads. Oh, I'm missing it. And I'm calling Linwood. And I'm like, hey man, I'm fired up about blah, blah, blah. And I could have a real conversation, but that frustration or maybe that is not going in my agency. I'm not turning around to Brian, you're my new key leader, and going like, are you kidding me? Like, no, that type of communication and mentorship and growing as a leader, you need that person to help understand where your frustration is, smooth out the edges, and you go back down. It's the old thing, good stuff goes down, frustration goes up to your upline mentor.
That's exactly right, Kevin. And speaking of mentors, we got the guys hopping on the call here, and I know they're back from the hard work they've done in South America. They were down there building insurance businesses. I'm sure not having any fun because we always have to be working. I'm just kidding. I love watching people earn freedom in this business because that's what this business has to offer. And I got to watch so many people from my team last week. Because they engaged in the hard work, they're not being recognized as one of the best in Symmetry. They're being recognized as one of the best in the industry. Are you coming off these calls and telling people what practice is like, or are you bringing people on these calls for practice, right? Are you getting them involved? Are they learning from you or are they learning with you? Because if they're learning from you, they're going to grow from you rather than with you. And this whole business has been about growing together, and that wouldn't be possible if these guys didn't take a step out and say, you know what, where we are, it was good for then, but not good enough for now, and build a company that's busy disrupting this business. But that doesn't happen unless we're all engaged. We've got clear eyes. What is it? Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose, right?
That's right.
And it's a big deal. And Kevin, really appreciate always getting to work with you, man. It's awesome.
Same here, Brian. Enjoyed it. Appreciate you.
Casey and I were just in another meeting and got 3 or 4 texts on how awesome the call was that you guys were doing. So
It was an all-timer.
I hate that I missed it. A couple of people saying, man, this builder's call is exactly what I needed to hear. So, well,
So everybody understands our process. A call lives on HQ for basically a 12-week cycle, and it's got all to do with bandwidth and Zoom and all kinds of things with cost relate. That's the kind of call that's going to stay on there longer than 12 weeks. That was fantastic.
Nice. We definitely missed you though, Brian. We missed Casey as well. KP and I, we did Argentina, at least Buenos Aires, the right way. We did yet another bicycle tour, which probably makes our, I don't know, 8th to 10th city that we've done one in. And I had more fun with you, Kevin, than we've had in a long time. Because I think that was my first. This year has been the first carrier trips I've been on since 2018 or 19. Wow. I think, and of course, for a couple of years they were canceled there. But give me your 2-minute take on Buenos Aires.
Man, I loved it. Appreciate American Amicable setting us up down there. Brandon, likewise, we had a great time, Michelle and I, hanging out with you and Jamie Satterfield, Terrell Mackey, Joel Kimsey, some of the guys on my team. Just enjoyed being around you, and the hospitality. The bike tour was fantastic. Casey, you'll love this. I called it a cutter. Like when there's a funeral and the police officer flies ahead, stops the intersection, people, and it keeps the funeral going. Well, we had a guy doing that on a bike for our tour. So he'd come into this intersection and stop the traffic. And he took one for the team. He actually got hit by a taxi. He stopped, the taxi slowed down, taxi didn't want to wait. Boom. Half the crew was past the intersection. The other half, it was pretty exciting.
It was, man, because it was a urban graffiti art tour. And so there were a few spots of Buenos Aires that, maybe made us a little less comfortable than where we were staying at the Hilton area, but not as uncomfortable as
I would not use the word exciting, Kevin Purdy. That was not the adjective I mean, he was in that moment.
It was exciting after we knew that he was okay.
I'm still not excited about it. Still.
Well, I've just been reminded of going on that trip, guys, what a blessing it is to work in an industry where that's just like cherries on top, and if you get your focus right on a carrier or two, look at where the trips are. You can be joining us, because it's so much fun. And I was just looking at next year's lineup. We got Banff coming up this year. There's a couple more already coming up this year. So several people will be joining us there. Next year looks amazing. And we're about to have a pretty cool announcement ourselves.
That's right.
Coming up, I think at conference. I think we're holding that one out.
Yep. Destinations 2024. Is that what it will be called?
Yeah. Destinations 24.
We're not going to tell you right now. You're going to find out at conference, but we might leak some footage of said location.
Yeah.
Just keep it a mystery, but keep you guessing.
Keep you guessing a little bit, man. But we got 2 Switzerland trips already announced, and there's the Foresters trip that they announced recently is Nevis, I think. So, man, there's a lot to already be excited about. And we got a lot to cover because I got weekly and monthly calls, and we got some really good stuff coming up with Meredith and Whit and Doug on the first call of the Muscle Week or the Muscle Month. But before we get into that, I think we have a message from our sponsor, Spivey. Is that what I'm being told? We need to take a quick break in the action.
Let's take a quick 2-minute break.
All right.